You let one ant stand up to us, then they all might stand up. Those puny little ants outnumber us 100 to 1. And if they ever figure that out, there goes our way of life. It's not about food. It's about keeping those ants in line. That's why we're going back.
Does anybody else want to stay?
Let's ride!
Hey everybody, welcome to the show. It's 7 o'clock, it's 7:01 to be precise, over here on the East Coast. And broadcasting live for the old Parachute Factory in Westchester. And heard around the globe via Quite Frankly TV, YouTube, D-Live, Rumble. I think we're back on X, Twitter, however you want to call it. I think we're back. A couple of weeks we weren't on, the show was just not getting cast onto X. And then I noticed last night, out of nowhere, we're back. So whatever the hell problems they were having, obviously we weren't a very big priority, but eventually trickle down success. And now we are back on. We're back on X, but you can find us on Twitch and all that good stuff in between. So it's going to be a good night. I feel like we just stopped talking a couple minutes ago because we did so much overtime last night. It was almost Operation Midnight Hammer for real last night, as we ended the show at 9, and then we didn't depart the studio until about 11 because it, as I found out this morning, it was a record. It was a record. It was a 2-hour long State of the Union. It's the longest it's ever been, ever. Okay, so that was that. We did that together. And again, if I had a crystal ball and I would have known that, I would have just gone home and just been in a chat room with you guys or something like that. But I didn't know that. So we went into it blind, and it's probably better that way, because then that puts you in a situation where you're going to do things that ended up being pretty fun that you wouldn't have chosen to do otherwise. Because it was fun. It was me. It was Jay. It was, the many hundreds of you. And I think we were the most watched on Pilled last night for sure. But record audiences for us over there on our cozy home at pilled.net. And we put the soundboard to good use. We got to laugh at a whole bunch of shit. And I think that's the biggest thing, the biggest takeaway. Because, any president put in a position like Trump was in last night is going to beat his chest a little bit, talk about everything he believes is good. There's some objectively good things going on right now. Other things I don't care about. I don't care about the supposed threat that Iran poses to one person or another. That has everything to do with the Iran's neighbors and whatever the hell they believe is an existential threat with having such a horrible group of people right next door. I also would like to. So I don't care about that stuff, and there's a lot of other things that just I could take it or leave it. But it was worth the price of admission to see Ilhan Omar screaming and retching at the at the moment that Donald Trump dropped the Somali pirates line. Honestly, the entire 2 hours was worth it just because of the Somali pirates line. And we're going to look at a couple of those short clips, but for the most part, you can call in with whatever the hell you'd like. And along for the ride tonight, laying down commentary on one thing or another. And he's a great guy to lay down commentary with, because on his very popular and ever-growing Instagram, Anthony Rispo talks about social cognition, psychology, what's going on in the world, what's going on in the news, how people perceive it, how they react to it. And it's really great to have you back, Ant. How's everything been?
Thank you for having me back on. It's been going.
It's been how are your holidays? I think we just confirmed because I couldn't remember whether or not you were here before or after the New Year's, but you were here before Christmas.
Yeah, I was here before Christmas, and everything was good. Yeah,
good. I'm happy to hear that.
I got sick shortly after this show. Actually, no, I was sick. I'd gotten over the flu, but then it came back with like symptoms.
Oh no,
weird symptoms after. Yeah, I'd gotten over the flu when I was here.
I've had flu. You know, the only flu that I ever had that relapsed on me so quickly was back in, I think it was like around 2010 or something like that. I had a flu in the summertime, which is the worst. Uh-huh. It was the worst.
Weird. Wow.
Yeah, whenever you get a fever or something like that in the summer, because then you got a fever on top of the fact that it's already 90 something degrees.
It's a weird time to get a fever. It sends alarms for me, especially because I'm anxious about getting sick to begin with. I don't like it. Who does? Listen, but it's an extra layer of anxiety for me.
Yeah. Well, it took me about 5 to 6 days to get over that. And I remember I had about 2 days of really feeling confident that everything was all right. And then all of a sudden I got hit again. And everything just came rushing back. And I was laid out for another 4 or 5 days. It was a very weird time.
Yeah.
But because not knock on wood and everything else, I don't ever want to have that in the summertime again.
No.
Leave it for flu season if it's going to happen at all.
Right.
You know? So did you watch the State of the Union last night at all?
So I got up to, I didn't have a chance to get through the whole thing. I went about halfway, but I got the gist of it, some sound bites, but more or less I watched today earlier and up to the halfway point. And yeah, I mean, I'm eager to hear what you have to say, and I definitely will chime in. I have general sentiments that I would express. I would be happy to express. One of them actually being that many members of the Democratic Party did not show up. Congressmen did not show up. They boycotted it. And, you know, that was a bit upsetting because I feel like if you want a seat at the table, sit at the table. I did a video on this actually just a few hours ago. And I think we're in a territory of tit for tat. And if you're going to portray yourself as the adult in the room, which I think implicitly they do tend to posture themselves as more morally superior, whether or not a person agrees or disagrees with that, I think it's incumbent upon you as the minority party to act in such a way, act as if you were going to be exemplary.
Mm-hmm.
You're coming in, you might have the opportunity to win, but you're diminishing your potential the more you advance these tit-for-tat tactics. So I thought that was a very bad move on their end. I mean, we're not in the French Revolution. We need to chill out.
Yeah, I'm with you on that one. And you know, I had read something about that there was going to be boycotting members and all that. So when it would pan to the General Assembly at certain points, I was looking around to try to catch glimpses of a lot of open seats, and I didn't see. Maybe my eye just wasn't drawn to it because I was trying to get body language. I was trying to assess body language off of people who were there and sitting and just sulking and picking their moments to scream about one thing or another. And then I did a little bit of searching on the internet, and I saw that there was some vacant seats there, but
yeah.
they could also give their seats. I think like surrogates can go in their place. Either way, listen, the State of the Union. I usually bounce a couple of minutes into it, no matter who's the president.
Yeah.
It's just so.
I know
it goes on forever because of the applauding, and it's really just a matter of what can you do to dunk on the other half of the room for the rest. And in this case, I think that I understand why you have to do it, and I'm glad that it was done because again, you see the things that there's no way you can't get any reaction out of one side of the room for the most incredible things. And you would think that you would know, I don't know, maybe we should stand for something like voter ID laws. Maybe we should clap because that makes.
Well, it's interesting because it depends on how these issues are moralized, and for the Democrats, the idea of voter ID is akin to disenfranchisement. So, and there could be a case that could be made for, okay, when it comes to, I don't want to go down a rabbit hole, but I'll just say why maybe they would not stand would be because of that reason, because they think that it's blocking women and minority groups from voting because the paperwork takes a lot. So they're not going to stand on principle. They'll stand on their virtue, on their moral.
Yeah.
But I mean, I was happy to see that they stood for very few things, but there are just other things that I wish that they would have stood for also, like voter ID, because I think we should all agree that we need better, sovereign security on our sovereignty. And I was just at Columbia University today talking to students, and there were a few who were children of immigrants and immigrants themselves, some from India, from Asia. India is Asia, but like from China, and they were also pretty adamant that we need better rules, regulations, laws, but it's just about how we go about it. So I think that's the central issue that people have when it comes to that particular thing. But I feel like at some point you got to agree on what it means to have a nation, and when you don't stand for something like that, it kind of signals that you don't believe that sentiment.
Yeah.
So that's
There's a lot. I think there's a lot more leeway for everyday people who are actually living a life of a newly arrived immigrant family. So people who put in time and money through the process, went through the classes, took the test and the oath and the pledge. They provided all of their prospects, whatever the hell it is. They have skin in the game, and they have a little bit more. Even if they do stand a little bit more center left than anybody else, who the hell knows? But organizationally, what the president said last night, it's 100% true. Organizationally, the DNC, there's only one reason why you would ever not want people to be able to prove that you are voting for yourself. It's you that's standing there and not somebody.
Right.
And somebody else. And that also you're a citizen of the country. The only reason why you would never want to confirm that before somebody casts a vote for any candidate is if you want there to be a large enough margin of error to be able to swindle people.
Yeah.
And that goes for, I mean, the opportunity is there for anybody. It's ridiculous.
It's plausible. Absolutely. I mean, I could, and when they don't make a case, when they leave it open for that particular interpretation, and then you see some evidence for it, I don't know. I don't have the empirical backdrop to guide me in this direction per se, but when you see the way in which the voter map looks, and you take into account gerrymandering and their particular, I mean, I think, was it Newsom who was unapologetically doing this recently with gerrymandering? Or
everybody gerrymanders.
Yeah, but I think California in particular was changing a law or something. I could, maybe listeners know and they could correct me on that. But when you make it your point to give, somebody said this today at the tables at the talk at the talk tables is what they're called, table talk. Sorry, particularly liberal leaning person said this, like, well, when you are in a position, when you're in poverty or middle class, and you live in a state that gives your tax dollars to a fund that pays for health insurance to illegal immigrants, you feel that. You feel the reason you start to. This is what happened in like Harlem and the Bronx with the minority.
That's
vote.
Interesting that was articulated.
Yeah. I mean, I think people are starting to see it. I think people on the left are starting to see some of the errors of their ways and not thinking these things through, which are really just a matter of technicality. But they code them as racist, as bigoted, and I think they instrumentalize that for what you're saying, to leverage that that kind of like empathy, to code it as nefarious so that you can win over a constituency that you can tell them I've got your back. I mean, it's plausible. I think it really is. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, before I move on to the other things, because Carolyn Levitt,
Yeah.
she put out I was looking for anybody that had actually compiled a list of all the things that they refused to stand for, and there is the press secretary that had tweeted it out. I said, okay, cool, I'll grab that. But with these university table talks you're talking about, are you invited there as a featured as a guest or something like that? Like what's the relationship you have there with the school?
So the table talks, they started I think a year and a half ago, 2 years ago probably. I can't remember, but it's run by a sociology lab or something, probably getting that part. It's in that particular arena of study. And they set up tables and they get guests to, sometimes students and sometimes professors and outside people to help, facilitate a talk is what it's sort of an open discussion. And my job is not to moderate. It's just to guide. I mean, it's one of those things I can't quite explain what they're trying to go for, except for you just sit down and talk and maybe change the topic once in a while. And it's really successful because students sign up, they go there, and it's anything is up for grabs. I mean, there's a hot takes table, and we talked about everything from the Epstein files to wokeness. And again, these are students who are self-identified as left, very left, Marxist to some degree, progressive, and they're articulating some of the problems and grievances and issues that people like me and others were were talking about like 2-3 years ago. And they're actually articulating that they understand that these things are problems now. That was very encouraging. So.
See, that's what I always want to tap into. And I'm glad that this is another reason why I love having you on the show, because there is that standing relationship you have with the university system. Mm-hmm. And I'm always just wondering, because we're always putting things out there to break down barriers and bring in younger audiences, because I'm curious. I want callers from Gen Z.
Yeah.
And so, the oldest members of Gen Alpha are 15, 16 years old right now. Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. And that I think that cuts off at, I don't know when the hell it was.
I don't know either.
And anyway, I think Gen Alpha they started being born around 2015.
Yeah,
I think Gen Z was 90
nephews around that
97 to 2012 or something like that.
And they're coming into their awareness of what's going on to some degree or another.
Oh yeah, I mean, all of the kids that I coached in baseball from 2006, 2005 until 2019, they're all Gen Z.
Yeah,
and they are. I mean, it's been years since my first graduating class of baseball players have been. One's been a cop for like 7 years now.
Wow.
I got, and listen, wild. Dude, I got pulled over by one of my players.
Oh my gosh.
I wasn't speeding or anything like that, but I didn't have I didn't have a safety belt on.
Oh no.
I didn't have a seat belt on. I was like, what the fuck is going on now? With the lights, the lights. I get pulled over and I look up, I go, oh, Tommy, good. And he's like, what are you doing, coach?
That's too good.
Put your seatbelt on. I was like, all right, stop it. Anyway, but
that's too good.
But I want those insights. Things are changing. When I had a couple of my players come in here like 2 summers ago, and I was asking them about dating. What the hell is meeting people like these days? Mm-hmm. These are guys, going into their late 20s. One of them was engaged at the time. I want to know about that shit because it's all changing.
Oh yeah.
And it's a change that hasn't happened. This is the first way that things like even like meeting people romantically has changed in the history of our species.
Like you mean with the dating apps or
everything.
Well, what's changing for the newer generation in particular?
It's not only. I guess that really started with. And I want to talk to you about Xennial psychology at some point, which would be us.
Yeah.
There was a really interesting video that came out about how things have been changing for us and how we are almost like a a micro generation that doesn't belong anywhere.
Yeah, I was just talking to somebody about this. Yeah.
And, well, either way, that is this kind of like birth of people who are coming out of the analog world, and they are now actually, being raised on computers, though they're primitive compared to what we have to today. And everything, we were there to really put a saddle on social media as it was coming out. And now we are into a generation and a half of people who have been born on social media. And so not only is the world changed right now drastically than what it was 20 years ago, but societally, as you know, sitting down with people talking about politics and how there are so many different barriers to entry, so many different filters that people put on in front of them before they can even allow themselves to accept a person as a friend anymore.
Oh, it's awful.
That's what I'm talking about. It's the tech and it's the politics.
Yeah, it's awful. It's we valence the person based on our moral proclivities, our value judgments, and we come in with like a construct, just some kind of composite score that puts a measure to a person via a virtual template, and we don't give a person a chance to show who they are as an individual. And that's frightening in the dating world, because there are a lot of missed opportunities because people think they're dating a caricature, or they look at a caricature and they think that that's what they're going to get rather than the person behind that. And I think it's destructive. That plus the reward mechanism embedded in these apps where you always have the choice, but you end up choosing nothing. So it's a terrible landscape.
Are you talking about Netflix in particular?
Well, I'm talking about like dating apps. Oh
Yeah.
wait, wow, that flew over my head. Sorry.
No, it's like that too. Even with streaming services, you always have the choice, and sometimes it's just you get fatigued so quickly.
Right, exactly. Yeah. It's like the slot machine effect, or whatever you want to call it.
No, I get you though. I understand with the dating. I mean, listen, the last couple of nights, I just stumbled upon another video before I went live tonight that I want to do something with, because I got so many things to say about it, but I don't want to drag you through the mud with me.
Yes.
It's just the U.S. men's hockey team winning gold, and
from the State of the Union, when he congratulated them.
Yeah. Well, I mean, even just but prior to the State of the Union, the fact that they won. And before all of the reaction videos came out from rabid TikTokers and the feminists and all that stuff, I already knew because I follow what the hell's going on with people. It's not even just what people are incentivized to put out onto social media for those dopamine hits with likes and everything else. Like what is going to carry, what message is going to carry with certain demographics of people that I want to reach.
Right.
And then beyond that, it's also just, there is incentivization coming. There's incentives coming from, behavioral incentives coming from the way that we use social media every day. But then there's also just the fact that a lot of people are being driven. They're being driven to do things and to say, and they're also being driven away from having a good time. They can't have a good time. Like I knew that so many liberals were probably at the same time pulling for the girls, the U.S. girls hockey team.
Oh, I see what you're saying. Okay.
And pushing against the men's hockey team because of all of the daddy issue projections of.
Yeah, I mean, that's actually quite a real thing. You're putting your finger on a pulse that I think is actually by projection, daddy issue projections. Do you think that they experience masculinity, men, as sort of emblematic or like an example of whatever problems they had with it in the past, like these?
You could. You could go that far, but you can also just say that it's not even a matter of whether or not they've had direct issues with it. It's just more so that this is the way that our society sets people up. It's just one of those things where everybody, they can't help themselves, and I think that especially when it comes to young girls, society really just. This is just what it is. These are the people who have gotten in the way of girl power in the past, and they've killed. What the thing that kills me, and I'll bring this up tomorrow when I do my full on thing, because I want to get back to the State of the Union. But this is what I love the tangents. This is what we're supposed to be doing.
Yeah.
When I played Little League, before they made everything co-ed, the girls would come to our baseball games. We would go to their softball games, and we never thought they were lesser.
Right.
We never thought that we're going to the silly girls' softball games. Oh, look at them. They're so cute running around playing their stupid sport.
It wasn't it wasn't like a differential of who's better or worse.
Ever.
And yeah. Right.
We were separate, but we were having equal experiences based on what we just kind of, without saying, knew was natural capability and everything else and whatever. And it didn't mean that softball players weren't skilled. It didn't mean that they weren't gritty and competitive in their own way, that they wasn't exciting to watch the games, especially if they were good games. I mean, if they're blowouts, it could be boring. But the worst parts about the nonstop feminist bickering in particular these days is that it doesn't change the natural balance between men and women's sports. What it does make people like me want to do is watch female sports less, because I naturally assume that there's less and less goodwill among their ranks.
Right.
Which is why I have to imagine that when Trump made that really lightweight joke about, well, I guess I'm going to have to invite the girls team to the White House too, as if like he's like dragging his feet. He only wanted to hang out with the boys. It was such a lighthearted little thing.
Well, that's people. Yeah, that's the thing that's frustrating. Is he is who he is. He's in his first year and he's got 3 more. At this point, this is how he, accept it or not, agree with it or not, this is how he jokes. And those little slights, those dry humor slights, that's what they are. It's exactly what they are. And I'm not saying, if somebody feels that it's offensive, they could feel that way, but it is what he comes from that era. He and it's not making, full on excuses. I mean, he's like he was Joan Rivers' close friend. I mean, like, this is the kind of humor. If you watch Joan Rivers clip, anybody, I mean, you'll see that this is the.
but the point, the point I'm bringing up there is when you say, where does this all come from? Say, well, this is the way that society essentially encourages young women to act. Many of them don't take the programming, and that's fantastic. We need that to happen more and more. But whereas people are constantly projecting, and this gets into how they socialize, it's how they vote and all that stuff, constantly projecting one form of oppression or inequity over another.
Yeah.
Once that continues to happen, most of those projections are fantastical. It's just imagination.
Well, they come from academia. I'm sorry to cut you off. You want to finish?
No. Well, I guess the last thing I was going to say is that it gets to the point where the imagination drives the delusion of oppression so much that once you get a lightweight joke from the commander in chief, finally there's some meat on the bone. And look, proof positive that we've been fighting against this for the whole fucking time. It becomes so, they suck the air out of everything.
Well, there's 2 psychological phenomena, I should say. The last one you just said, in psychodynamic theory, there's a concept called projective identification, which is the short version is sort of like self-fulfilling prophecy. You have it. It's like, it's different from projection, where you're attributing some kind of intent to, like, you're projecting your own stuff onto somebody. But projective identification is essentially you have it in mind that someone is already who you think they are, that they're going to act in bad faith. As an example, and your mind, like I said, your mind is already set on that template. And then you're going to look for evidence of it. And so when you receive any cue that gives credence to that preconditioned, that presupposition, it then becomes verification that the person is the thing you projected them to be, without them even being that thing. It's kind of crazy, but it creates this tension. That's like you said, like you're kind of alluding to, is just this illusory sense that someone means something that they probably don't. Let's just say they could maybe, but let's say they don't. But the person perceiving it and projecting and expecting it, they'll find evidence anywhere, little bits in a joke, in an antic, and whatever. That's a real thing that people have to work through in like psychodynamic therapy. And the other thing you were talking about is when something is being shoved down your throat, like a mandate or a social script or something by a powerful person, or an academic theory, or implicit bias training. There was a huge inquiry into if implicit bias training works, and it doesn't, because it backfires. The reason why is because there's something called reactance, which is essentially another kind of short version of this is doubling down. Like, I don't want to be told what to do, so I'm going to double down on what I think, and I'm going to repudiate what you are telling me because you're telling me what to do, and I'm not good with that. That's pretty much reactance. So when you have leaders or people in power telling you, and this goes in all directions, telling you how to be around women, giving you these scripts, these corrective scripts that you're a man, so therefore you're oppressive, you're a part of the patriarchy, and women are subjugated underneath that. And that's the statement, and then there's an ought that follows. Like, now you ought to do this in order to correct for that. These corrective measures become moments for backfiring. People don't like. This is all very simple. People do not like being told what to do, and the more you lean into it with a moral valence, like you make it into a moral plight, then even worse. It doesn't work. And this is what I keep trying to say about the Democrats is, to not own up to your own faults, to not own up to what you've done in the past, the things that you've done to harm people's lives, being the party and the people of harm reduction. People see that. They see the dissonance. And people like me, who I'm independent, and I'll take a good position wherever it comes from, but, well, that actually sounds wrong, but I'll take a good stance wherever it comes from, a libertarian, a Democrat, a Republican. But if you try to tell me what I ought to do, anything that goes beyond the parameters of my rights as an autonomous being of this country, I'm not going to like it, and it's going to make me probably not like you.
Well, I think that's where something else. That's where the voter ID comes in for me too, and I've had some really interesting talks over the last 5 or 6 years alone with people who have done much deeper dives into what's wrong with voting, far beyond, like, to some people, like my friend Stephanie out there, my friend Marley Hornick out there, the kinds of analysis that they have run in states like New York and others, to red, blue, it doesn't matter what it is. They put voter ID laws and at like surface level mediation for how bad the problem is. They've said that New York State voting over here, our system is actually a national security threat. It was incredible what we spoke about a couple of times that they showed up. But when I look at things like that, and what you're talking about right here with how people don't like, there's backlash from the aughts.
A lot.
Say, well, I was looking at that last night. I said, all the salty, unattractive people that were in the room, and I hate Republicans too. I started off the broadcast last night telling my buddy Jay, I said, man, I just hate that President Trump has to work within the paradigm that this collective body sets. Like, I hate that he can only be as bold as the average of these people. Because that room is so fucking pathetic. It really is. The fact that he can only be as bold as the average of what they can produce, as far as, restorative measures to free people and to let the economy go and to draw back the surveillance state and actually, take our borders security seriously on a lasting basis. clear people out who shouldn't be, like all the. I said that just made me sick. That's not just Democrats right there. That's all that as bold as he can be is the average of that room. It's sick.
And then also the thing is I won't drag this out, but I do want to index this. This is important. There's a subset of the Republican Party, of that conservative movement, that they're just as, though qualitatively different in their approach, punitive and exclusionary and really quite awful as the other side. It's coming from a place of, it's like a catechism. If you think of like religion, a religious form, the left has a social justice religious form, and the right has, they hold on to, Christianity, which in and of itself, there's nothing obviously wrong with Christianity, but they use it as a cudgel. There's a sector, there's a section, a portion of the party that has Trump by the you-know-what, and but he actually leveraged that the Christian nationalist kind of bent of the party to really elevate him, and he knows it. And this has been done in the past. I can't remember by who, but he was around in the 50s, 60s when the Republican Party started to go Christian nationalism. And it's just, you see it in the social media conservative sphere too. You see a lot of the same tactics, punitive tactics, exclusionary tactics that you would see on the left happening now on the right. Like, you cannot question things without being thrown under the. I've experienced it all the time on my social media. I can't begin to tell you how many times people misconstrue when I criticize Trump, that they think that I'm some kind of, radical leftist or something like that. It's pretty amazing.
Well,
yeah.
I get you.
Yeah.
I mean, I thankfully I create a standard for myself where I have always had room to criticize anybody, and there's a lot of parts of the game I just don't contend with. As far as the right and what they use as a cudgel, honestly, I think these days they take advantage of a lot of evangelical voters for sure.
Yeah,
But the guise of this being a Christian nationalist front, I think the last time that was really relevant as far as presentation was the early to mid 90s. I think I think it's just something that people in the media like to write about to get people all up in there's a Christian nationalist front that's coming our way, because
I don't think it's a Christian nationalist front.
No,
I think that there's an element there that Trump knows he's got to latch. There's something there, but it's not a front. It's not, and it's certainly not a white nationalist front. I did a little bit of an independent analysis on this, and did a statistical test on the latest Christian nationalism report, I think, and it showed that, and this was by all means a very not an elaborate investigation, but it was enough to show that a measure or a scale questionnaire created to measure Christian nationalism, that the scale was equally expressive. How shall I say? That participants who took the scale, that took the questionnaire, regardless of race, would score high on the Christian nationalism scale, meaning you could be Black, Latino, Asian. It's not a white thing, is what I'm saying. The evidence doesn't prove that it's a white Christian national. It's could be a Christian nationalism.
No, it's a media projection,
right?
Because
exactly.
just like all like when, for example, it's a media projection, because if there's any kind of a front here, there's far more of an Israeli nationalist front that's an influence that's going on. I don't see a lot of Christian will that is being expressed in Congress very much at all. And to be honest,
that's a good point.
Well, and to be honest, when I think about that in particular, the whole idea, and of course, this only really flies with people who are programmed to be easily spooked by things. Mm-hmm. For example, Mamdani the other day when he was talking about how he's not getting enough money from mommy, in Albany, so he's going to have to do Plan B, and that is going to be raising property taxes by nearly 10%. And of course, what he was talking about, he used the words profitable corporations. I was talking about this with my buddies Matt and Christian last week. When he said we're going to be taxing profitable corporations, there's two words that people have been completely spooked by: profit and a corporation. And as I said on the show last Thursday, I'm a corporation, an individual. I'm incorporated.
Yeah.
And as far as profit, what does that mean? It means you made $1 beyond what you fucking spent.
Right.
And the fact that all you need to do is say profitable corporations will be taxed, and some people will go, oh, okay. Well, that's not going to affect me.
Yeah, it's language. There was a, sorry, there's a, for sure, politics and doublespeak, they kiss. They're hand in hand. But especially with the communist, socialistic brand of it, you get a sort of linguistic soup that obfuscates, that just completely muddies reality, and you don't know which way to turn. It's just, like you said, profitable corporation, and people say, oh yeah, that's great. Rich people mean, it's all collapsed. But when you click on that, you see, well, that means someone like you, or someone who's not like some, major company. It's the way in which language is used to manipulate and to modify a culture toward a certain agenda that is particularly favorable toward, again, the more socialistic, communistic types. And there was actually a prisoner under Mussolini by the name of Antonio Gramsci, who was in prison for like 10, 15 years. I can't remember, but he'd written a lot during his time in as a prisoner. And he was a Marxist communist. And he basically put forward exactly what we're saying. We can't be like the totalitarian or authoritarian regimes of the present day, speaking on his, from his period of time. We can't be Mussolini. We can't be, brute. We have to go in with a softer method. We have to go into the institutions. We have to go into education, into the media, use language. He was like a linguist too. So anytime you can change language to fit that particular agenda without going hard, that's why I get really worried about what the left has done over the years, because they use language and people don't think, they don't double click on the phraseology. They don't understand what's below that, and when you click on it, you see, oh shoot, he can't actually tax corporations and people with some odd millions of dollars. He can't do that without her permission, and she's saying no. So what do we do?
Yeah.
They don't, before they voted for him, they didn't think about that. So
no, there's not a lot of thinking.
That's the problem.
But that's what I'm saying. It's become so, to tie up a point I was making before, it's become so unattractive and so incoherent that I don't know. I just wonder. Okay, this got to be the end of it has to be the end of their usefulness. I mean, there was a time when getting people to scream about one thing or another as if it's the next civil rights front might have been a little bit. You could create some momentum that way, but now it's just it's so unappealing and repulsive.
Yeah,
and that the more that people get what they want, the more things get worse. You can't keep blaming the same old people when you really don't have that much resistance in your way, or you haven't had resistance and things are not the way you say that they were going to be. It's not a good world that we're creating. We're actually causing more and more chaos as time goes on. So that's why I'm saying the voter ID thing is really interesting, because how the hell can a group of people like that, who the most radical elements of them, they're the loudest. The squeaky wheel always gets the grease, but they're just the loudest. I really don't believe that they are a majority in any way, shape, or form. In any way, shape, or form.
I don't think so. Yeah.
But how the hell do you maintain when you are that small, that repulsive, and you're losing appeal by the day. And obviously, you know,
Sorry, I just had to laugh at that. Was a good sequence of. Go on.
I know. Obviously, you know, voting the ID, leaving it wide open. Yeah, I guess that's a way to make up for you know losses that you're you know that's just it.
Well, it's so weird because, you know, I don't know what to make of this if it needs to be ballooned and made into or if it was a media talking point or whatever, but to apply to snow shovel and to bring an ID and a social security and this and that. And maybe someone would argue it's not the same thing, but like procedurally, you want to make sure someone's legal to receive pay. Well, you want to make sure someone could receive their pay appropriately. And the reason for that is because what's the appropriately part? Well, in order to be able to receive pay from the city, you need to be on the books. You need to be a citizen. So we come back down to that substrate. It's like, why this but not that? You know, why there's so much dissonance.
Why couldn't you pay them out with petty cash and give anybody, you know, there's so many people.
Yeah, be equitable. Yeah.
It makes well,
like if you're going to use the language, be equitable. Don't do. Yeah, exactly.
You said it before. It's $30 an hour.
Yeah.
You needed 2 forms of ID, picture, whatever the hell else you need. But it's already beyond like triple the amount of what you would need to just flash before you go into a voting booth.
Right.
One thing results in $30 that is going to be paid out to you with taxes withheld too.
Exactly.
Okay. And the other action going into the voting booth, that'll impact especially in New York City, whether it's a local election or voting for president of the United States, you're talking about making an impact on an election that is going to, no doubt, at the very least, steer hundreds of billions of dollars,
right,
or trillions of dollars on the federal level.
Right.
I'm like, so I mean, what are you talking about? That's not, if we are going to stick to this obscene notion that every person deserves a vote in this country, which I'm sorry, I used to be that kind of I used to think that way, but it makes no sense, especially with how absolutely woefully uneducated we are. We are uneducated to the point of disability.
Yeah.
How the fuck can you put trillions of dollars in the hands of people who can't fucking think?
Yeah. Yeah, I feel that too, because when you look upstream, take for instance, you know, I was also talking about this earlier today. Take for instance, COVID relief, and how under de Blasio, he took so much of that money and created programs that he had no freaking idea what to do with after that. And so now you get this downstream effect where now taxpayers are held to this, you know, they're held hostage essentially, not knowing what the hell to do to fund like K through third grade program, for instance, and other programs that he used COVID money for. And then it creates that, you know, consequential effect where now the next administration comes in, doesn't know how to pay for it, and then you get backed up, and then you have Mamdani come in and says, you know, well, we have a problem. Well, your ilk, your camp of thinking is what created this problem, and you're asking taxpayers to fork up the money for the bill.
Yeah,
there's no you don't have to be. You know, you don't have to be left, right. I mean, I guess depending on your economic principles, fiscal conservatives, maybe you're more conservative, but like you don't have to be a social conservative, you don't have to be a Trump supporter, nothing, to understand that this doesn't make sense, and it causes so much chaos and histrionics, and it inadvertently they inadvertently create, or maybe intentionally create, the chaos that they claim is being created by those they oppose, but they're creating it.
Yeah.
They're creating the environment for it. So it's insane.
Well, yeah. Anybody who operates, if you feel like your organization can only really operate at an optimal level when people are in a state of confused, frenzied panic, then obviously, I mean, who the hell benefits there? Who the hell benefits there? You're just to keep people to want to attain a level of calm, tranquil understanding of the world around you, stability, giving people confidence that the future is going to be all right, and that the future, the state of the future, is actually in their hands. And it's not in, hey, vest power in me so I can regulate everything and make you a success. If you could it's just so far removed from where we are that even that is something I wish more people can connect the dots on. That confused, frenzied panic is a sign that the people you're following and that are keeping you in that mindset so that the calls to action hit in a certain way. Yeah. I mean, you're not going to benefit for whatever the fuck comes on the other end of that, because confused, frenzied panic is what children exude when they need somebody else to take care of a problem for them, not what
to regulate them.
Yeah, not what independent people who can take care of themselves do. Exactly. They calmly assess a situation and they apply what they believe is going to be a solution to the problem. There is in no way, shape, or form are most Americans being given that confidence. They are being given absolute panic. Every 2 to 4 years, everything's on the line, and we're the only ones that can fix it for you.
Right.
That's it. So, but again, it's so deep. Yeah. That's too deep of a thought for what the average the projection is.
Unfortunately, yeah.
Before we get into, I want to play at least one or two clips, the Somali pirate clip. But ladies and gentlemen, real quick, just remind you, tomorrow night, I'm going to be pulling a name out of the hat for the Super Chat raffle this week. We have got Jane Barlow's book, which is going to be addressed to you. It's going to be written out to you, the Be Your Own Shaman, a field guide to utilize 101 of the world's most healing plants. So you're not only going to learn a lot, you're going to be able to put some stuff on your Home Depot or Lowe's garden section wish list. Then you're going to say, okay, well, I'm going to go buy all this stuff, and I'm going to make a little bit of not a crisis garden, but a medicine garden. And I want to see what you guys come up with. Not only that, you're going to get a Keto Brainz golden ticket. This gets you a full bag of it. I'm going to send it your way. It's got the QR code in the back. You're getting a full ride on that one, and you're going to get silver. Tomorrow, I'm dropping silver on you, baby. So send a super chat to YouTube, to Rumble, the Pilled, or quite frankly, superchat.com. The show needs your support. Become a sponsor of the show. I might even throw away a 20th anniversary shirt. You never know. You never know. But we need your support, and thank you so much. Okay, so here we go. Ant, here's what we got. Here's what we got. This is from Memology 101. The cameraman knew exactly what he was doing, they say. This was funny. President Trump calls out Somali pirates in Minnesota, announces war on fraud led by J.D. Vance. And we'll play today's announcement by Vance afterwards.
But when it comes to the corruption that is plundering, it's plundering America. There's been no more stunning example than Minnesota.
I love how his eyes shot over to the other side.
Was that Vance you're saying shot over? Or?
No. Trump's when Trump.
Oh, and he looked. Oh, okay.
When he says Minnesota, his eyes dart over to the Democrat side. Okay.
Stunning example than Minnesota. Where members of the Somali community have pillaged an estimated $19 billion from the American taxpayer. We have all the information. And in actuality, the number is much higher than that. And California, Massachusetts, Maine, and many other states are even worse. This is the kind of corruption that shreds the fabric of a nation, and we are working on it like you wouldn't believe. So tonight, although started 4 months ago, I am officially announcing the war on fraud to be led by our great Vice President J.D. Vance.
It goes right to her. Now he makes an interesting an interesting point coming up about the about what the levels of fraud we're dealing with means to actually balancing a budget and bringing down the expenditures of the federal government, because I've said it, and I hope. See, he said something there 4 months ago. 4 months ago, he launched this war on fraud.
Mm-hmm.
Well, 4 months ago is like November.
Yeah.
And end of October, November, and Nick Shirley didn't come out with his Minnesota expose until just after Christmas.
Right.
So
they were at this for a while, though. I think this Somalia thing.
Oh, no, yeah, no doubt.
Yeah.
No doubt. So that's what I'm just thinking. I'm always wondering about when, how full-throated of an effort this is, because no doubt, and I'm hoping that this means that we're finally putting to use all the Doge stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Because so much was collected starting this time last year, and we were wondering, okay, it's not grabbing headlines anymore. They were able to snoop around into Social Security to see what was going on over there. Mm-hmm. They were able to snoop around into so much stuff, and then we just stopped getting updates. Elon Musk and his one, not a year, but he was only going to be there for a few months, whereas Doge had a mandate that was going to go until, I think, July or something. But we haven't heard much on that, and so much was created. So
what happened there, though? Again, I don't remember. Did they have a quick falling out, and Trump and Elon Musk?
There was some kind of a summertime spat between them.
Okay,
I don't even remember it. I don't remember it. I just know that they kind of like buried the hatchet at the end of the summer, around the time that Charlie Kirk died. Mm-hmm. And then they were hanging out together at the memorial service and all that. And now Elon is back to promoting Trump's tweets on X. But that's regardless of the fact that there was an exorbitant amount of work done.
Yeah, the only thing I'll comment on with that is I was at Columbia when that was happening, and some friends of mine, acquaintances, and a professor I worked with who helped out with the group that I had there. He voted for Trump. He's a libertarian. He's a geneticist, brilliant guy. But he had a problem with the way they sort of, like, the administration sort of rated the funding at the medical school, because they would find keywords that sounded like something to rip. For instance, genetic research, transgenic mice. They thought it was transgender. Like, they thought that it was like they were making mice transgender. But transgenic is actually a genetic term for. It's not. But my gripe was, I wish that they were more efficient with academia, because they didn't go for the lanes that are really putting forward the critical theory stuff. They went just like full force on everything, and I think it had another backfire effect, and it really bugged a lot of people out. So you're saying that there was still, even though there were those slip ups, there was still maybe something that we're not being fully told, or
we didn't know how all the data that they had collected on, especially where how many, like, for example, recipients of Social Security.
Yeah, right.
Where anomalies were popping up, and whether or not there was even greater money machine, as they are calling it, money machine function of some of these programs that are supposed to be trusts, to be honest. And we didn't really know how. I know that there was a couple of 100,000 people who were cut from the federal workforce. I mean, we're just about 2 million off from what we should be cutting.
Yeah.
But and we were wondering what the hell's going on here. We didn't find any of those cuts that showed up in any of the funding legislation from 2025, hoping that was going to come now. But when you think about the fraud and how that, there's got to be something else there. And I'm hoping that that's what it means, because, I still believe that if you were to cut 75% of the funding, the spending that we were doing, most people would not even know anything happened in the country, because it's just going to so much waste, and it's just being these continuing resolutions are an absolute obscenity.
Well, I mean, just take how colleges are subsidized. I mean, tuition is so bloated because so much of the government money that goes to colleges ends up in the pockets of administrators.
Yeah.
And they bloat the tuition because they hoard the money, and they increase the tuition. It's really disgusting, actually. And it's bad on, I mean, it's a great example to people who would not otherwise be inclined to vote the other way, like the left voting the other way, or people who are upset about tuition costs, rightfully so, to, put their finger on to understand this is what's happening. Like colleges, universities are receiving so much money and bloating themselves up and not lowering tuition. And they're hiring administrators for like DEI stuff and for all these other programs that don't have really much, really substantiated evidence showing that they work. And it's just a cycle. It's a mess. It's a mess.
We have what I would call an education inflation situation.
Yeah. Yeah, it is. It is truly an education inflation crisis. Yeah.
It really is, because if you think about it, where we are right now, first of all, the federal government, and I know making this argument just makes people roll their eyes and go, okay, whatever, Frank, get out of the room. But federal government, it has no authority to dabble in any kind of funding of education. The Department of Education has to go. It also has absolutely no authority outside of, setting up the trademark and copyright office to protect intellectual property to fund arts and sciences.
Right.
None, because it can politicize art and science.
And it does. Especially science research. That needs to be modified. Because the number of principal investigators or researchers at labs at university, at Columbia, that would tell me over and over, I have to essentially meet a quota. I have to submit 20-something research papers to meet my grant what is the word I'm looking for? Conditions. Otherwise, my money goes away. So they literally have to pump out as much research as they can to satisfy the government's standards. It's awful.
And also to confirm whatever the hell the party line wants the research to show.
That's right.
Or to at least justify that the research should continue, that there are still inconclusive reasons, blah, blah, blah.
Which is often the case.
Yeah.
Things are just inconclusive.
So when I say it's inflated, it's because when you think about what all of that money does to not only destroy the end result, which is to just to pump people into schools, when we should be getting back to where most schools are, they're collecting tuition. Mm-hmm. And yes, people can go out there. There's always companies and there's always organizations that put together scholarships, scholarship foundations, private endowments. Schools got on with it. And you know what? It just, at one point, there was a time when going to college wasn't expected for everybody because you just simply didn't need it.
Right.
And maybe it's good. I mean, I loved the conversation I had with Larry Sharp, the gubernatorial candidate here in New York State a couple of times. I think he actually might be trying to run again.
Yeah.
But he was talking about things that he'd love to do in New York State that actually give high school students, that he would love to work to be able to get away from federal education money.
Right.
He wanted to be able to find a way to get either the end of sophomore year is where a child that is in high school gets to assess where they were going to go there. Choose your own path. Mm-hmm. Are you going to, where do you want to do you want to go off to start working? Or do you want to go off to a graduate school? Is college in your future, whatever the hell it is, and you start reallocating funds for people who want to go on for based on what they want to do, and then also to encourage kids to just start their lives.
Yeah,
by 18. Get into a trade. Like he actually said, you have an option to go into trade work or to also continue your education if you want to, become a neuroscientist or something. You want to go to med school. Those are pathways that should be not only accessible, but they should be made to look attractive for people, because
options. Based on where you are. Right.
We have the most highly educated baristas in the world.
So true.
I mean, it's just what
who took like some kind of, I don't know, gender studies or this or that studies, you name it, studies.
That's the inflation I'm talking about.
Exactly.
There. If people were not, if this was not one of those things where, okay, high school just ended, time for 4 years of college, and if that wasn't the standard anymore, and the money wasn't there, and the schools were just back to standard operating procedure, and God forbid, school administrators learned market forces. Like they learned how to actually go out there and write a little bit more fervently for grants and endowments and stuff like that, instead of just holding out their hand to the federal government. Now, I understand, and I'm sure that they all probably do that, because you can't just take that one check from DC and run your college. I understand, but it's got to be the primary. It's got to be all it is.
Yeah. I mean, clear. I mean, there's like you said, there's a huge problem. They take a lot of money from the government, and it doesn't seem to go anywhere else except for bureaucracy.
Yeah. Well, yeah. Anyway, speaking of balanced budgets and learning market forces, take a listen to the rest of this statement about Minnesota.
We'll get it done. And if we're able to find enough of that fraud, we will actually have a balanced budget overnight. It'll go very quickly.
See?
That's the kind of money you're talking about. We'll balance our budget. The Somali pirates who ransacked Minnesota remind us that there are large parts.
The Somali pirates who ransacked Minnesota. That's fun. Dude, I'm telling you, this 2.5 minutes was worth the 2 hours.
That is, I'm not going to lie. Like,
I'm good with it.
the comedic, like if anybody who has a sense of humor knows, I mean, it's the part where he's the president that people don't like, the fact that he jokes like this and he's the president, but take aside the president part, objectively, that's pretty funny. It's
funny. You know what it is? It's not even like he's exaggerating. 19.
Oh, no, that's right. They're 19 billion. That's real.
19 billion. And we're just talking about like 1 or 2 classifications of business. Yeah. You know, you're talking about daycare centers, and then there was, and I think the follow up expose was on medical transport.
Yeah.
So I mean, it's
been going on for a while. Yep, it's a problem.
Yeah,
parts of the world where bribery, corruption, and lawlessness are the norm, not the exception.
Yeah. Oh,
what's that?
She's burned. She's
okay. I was like, what are we watching now?
I don't know. It wasn't me.
Through unrestricted immigration and open borders brings those problems right here to the.
She put her hand on her hand. The woman next to I didn't know.
Oh, the savior, the
white savior.
The white savior. Right.
Yeah, it's like Game of Thrones right now.
Right.
Yeah, I just didn't see that until now. She put her left hand comforting Ilhan Omar. Don't worry, we're here with you. We're here with you. We need more.
USA, and it is the American people who pay the price in higher medical bills, car insurance rates, rent, taxes, and perhaps most importantly, crime. We will take care of this problem. We're going to take care of this problem. We are not playing games.
Yeah.
Oh,
anyway,
God. Oh, God.
I listen, that was worth the price of admission.
I don't know. It's amazing to me. I mean, look, if I'm going to zoom out a bit, yeah, it is possible that good, otherwise good people in that Somalian crowd will get scapegoated but at the hands of their own people who put them in that precarious situation. It's really they're bad actors. They're fraudsters, and they dragged those people into this precarious situation. So you can have two things be true at the same time. You can have Somalians who are immigrants and who are not bad people, but unfortunately, in that aggregate, you are associated with and part of a group of people who exploit you, frankly, and use you, and then use the country and are just not good people. And now here you are. So it's just, again, another self-fulfilling prophecy. And I know I could see, it's her people and her background. I could understand objectively why she'd be upset, but at the end of the day, again, where's her allegiance? That's the thing, is like, like if you're part of Congress, for God's sake, where's your allegiance? It should be your constituency for sure. Fundamentally, you have to worry about your constituent base, but it is to this country. And if there's fraud happening, you should be with the president on this, but it doesn't seem like that's the case. So.
Yeah. Well, I honestly, again, going back to voter ID, why would you not want to dig into this? Is it just because, oh man, it's going to be a black eye for your diaspora, your group that has really staked claim to places like Minneapolis from these refugee programs that should have never been enacted in the first place? Is it because there's going to be a black eye that you're going to have to deal with? Because it's very easy, like you said, just to say we completely denounce the crime and kick out the fraudsters and prosecute them and get them out of the country. Whatever the hell it is, they can be very, very. They have the option of being harsh in casting out their own who are making them look bad.
Yeah, exactly.
But
right.
When you're talking, Anthony, when you're talking about just skimming off of the surface of this thing, taking your scalpel and scratching off a few spores of the corruption, and you are able to accumulate $19 billion.
Yeah.
These are not mom and pop shops that's set up, and we're just able to just figure out the perfect scam. They're being directed. They're being enabled. This is far bigger than just some Somali immigrants who are
right. Exactly. That's the point. This is not about. This is again. It's not the flipped narrative that we're, acting in a bigoted way or even scapegoating them. It's exactly what you're saying. It's a higher level analysis.
Yeah, there's strings. Yeah. There's strings attached, and at least a couple of them have got to go back to Ilhan Omar. Speaking of strings, bigger ones, the ones that go right to the New York Stock Exchange, President Trump can't believe it as Elizabeth Warren stands up for his plan to stop insider trading in Congress. They stood up for that. I can't believe it, he said, and then he shouts out Nancy Pelosi. This was another good one.
As we ensure that all Americans can profit from a rising stock market, let's also ensure that members of Congress cannot corruptly profit from using insider information.
Oh. Yeah. There's Elizabeth Warren.
Okay.
They stood up for that. I can't believe it.
Wait, listen.
I can't believe it. Did Nancy Pelosi stand up?
Oh God. You see, he plays it's a Jacksonian. He's like Andrew Jackson.
Oh, dude, listen, the whole night, and that's what I was saying. Like the trolling, like the whole night was rage baiting.
Yeah,
and it wasn't he's thrown out there. You have to go out and you have to bring your report to the people.
The first 20 minutes it was not that much of a rage bait.
No. It wasn't that bad. But then, of course, he started going through things. It was perfectly positioned because these were you had dual use in a lot of what was going on in this speech, because you not only have to talk about things like putting American citizens over illegal aliens, voter ID laws, the murder rate being lowest than it has been since like the turn of the 20th century. Keeping violent criminals locked up. What's the other thing that was in here? He brought up stopping fraud, angel families, price transparency, affordability, taking on drug cartels, no tax on tips, overtime, Social Security. Of course, all of his victories at the southern border, which absolutely is 100% great. We just got to hollow out the interior now. But like all of those points along the way, you got to talk about those things, but it just happens to be strategic, strategic pit stops to be able to call attention to I can't believe you're not clapping for that. And every time he would bring something up, he would say, these people are sick. And he'd bring up another thing. He'd say, what is wrong with you? You're not even clapping for that. There's something wrong with you. And I mean, that was just like gifts that the Democrats gave him.
Yeah,
they gave that.
So he vocalized it rather than just let it be
seen.
Yeah. Because I think people not underestimate. I think people think that optics in a situation like this will do the work. Like people will say, no, don't use restraint, don't point it out, it'll point itself out. I don't think so these days. I think that tactic, whether or not I agree with it, I mean, some of it I think is productive, some of it I think is unproductive.
Yeah.
That is a strategy that I think is right now, because we're entering midterm season, right? Is that correct? We're in the midterm world. And I think that because the Democrats have not given us anything except for I hate Trump, they really haven't. I think you're right. They gave him a gift. And by boycotting, like I think 80 of them boycotted. And you're just giving, yeah, you're right.
Honestly, it would have been better if they didn't show up at all.
Right.
I really do think it would have been better if they did not show up and half of the room was empty than to see them sit there sullen while you bring out national heroes and mothers of slain children, and you sit there like fucking sulking babies. Like it would be so much better if you had not shown up.
Right.
You know, you're still going to get ripped on, but if you can't put your shit aside to at least, play the game and clap and present yourself as halfway decent human beings, then you really should. It would have been better.
That was my point. I just put a video out. Like I said, I think maybe before we recorded or during the recording, early on, during us recording now, that is exactly what I think should have happened. I think that when you're on the sort of losing end and your polling is not, Trump's polling in certain areas is not great either right now, but right now the Democrats are not terribly favored on various fronts, and so I think it's incumbent upon them to really strategize ways to become favorable. And you have your Fettermans, I don't like Gavin Newsom, but he's kind of doing the thing, like he's setting himself apart from the quote punitive left crowd. That's just an observation. I think Fetterman has a better genuine grasp of things. He actually shook Trump's hand. He's like exemplary of what
he is. He has said him. He is the new Kirsten Sinema.
Yeah.
But you know what? To have those Doug Manchin types, to have one or two people like John Fetterman, pop out like a sore thumb, is really not. It's over.
Yeah,
you can't stand by and stand up for what you have put out there over the last 10 years and just say, and then what? I had a change of heart. You can't have a change of heart. You've got to stay rooted in something. Like, how do you even maneuver? You're like you're not even in the water. You're on the rocks right now. Yeah. And you can't do that unless, I don't know, there's a complete implosion and there's a whole new, but what are the new generations looking like? They're absolute commies. Like we're like the new generation of Democrat are just straight up tankies.
Straight up communists.
Yeah. They are just Leninists. Yeah. And even you're talking about Gavin Newsom. Fuck that guy too. I mean, you want to talk about punitive? He was the man in charge during COVID. He was arresting people on the beach.
Oh yeah, no, exactly. I'm just saying he's.
If that's the best they can send out, then damn.
Yeah, right, agreed. I'm just saying like he's kind of like trying to stand out. Because he's on the campaign trail pretty much,
doing the podcasts and all that. Yeah, I get it.
Yeah,
I get it. Okay, so I'm going to read some super chats now, and then Anthony and I are going to change up the topic a little bit because I want to get some calls on some things, and I think this next thing is going to be pretty interesting. First one up is Joricho over there up in Canada. You listen here, Franklies. Like and subscribe. 2026 is zero tolerance for lurking. Be better. Thank you. And that's from a Canadian, guys. So he's working against a lot up there. And thank you so much, my friend. Everybody, that's a good place to stop and say, please like, comment, share this episode. And if you are not subscribed as you're watching, subscribe and hit the notification bell for all notifications. That's something that little things, free little ways, click, click, click. That's how you can sponsor the show every night with 3 free clicks. Let me see. Gribble Sillin says the motor of a revolution is in the schools. Yeah, I've always said that to people. And it's become memes over time, Anthony. I said, there's a reason why they're not fighting so hard for nursing homes. They go to nursing homes when they need to coerce little old demented great grandmas into voting just because they need some extra whatever. But they are hell bent on maintaining control and expanding control on schools. They want nursery schools over nursing homes. Yeah. And that is because they're, they know they've got to recruit, they've got to groom, and that's the only way that there's a chance for the future. You got to keep people infantilized. Yeah. You got to keep them thinking like a 7-year-old for the rest of their life, or else they actually might have some common sense
and think for themselves.
Right.
Right.
Let's see here. Winard Air Shows says test. Oh, I hear you. Jay Britz says, enjoying the dialogue with Anthony Rispo tonight. Thank you. I hate this show. Thank you too, Jay. It's good to have you out there.
Oh, interesting turn of sentiment. I hate this show. Huh.
That's my daughter's fault.
Oh, okay.
I don't know if I'll show it to you in a little bit.
Okay.
That's my daughter's fault. Hold on. Wait. Let me see. Oh, here it is. 1 second. This was my daughter's. What do you think the contribution to our Christmas episode in 2024? Hold on a second. Here it is. That's Aurora.
Oh, how cute is she?
Yeah, she is really a doll. Here, listen.
Oh my gosh.
What do you think that we should do to entertain people at home?
I hate this show.
Oh my God. So I don't look at the chat room. And now she's kind of brought that with her.
Oh my.
Yeah, so
I hate this show.
It's kind of become my motto now. So it's a term of endearment.
I love that.
Yeah. So, all right. Well, anyway, thank you. So Monterey Frog says, dang Minnesota. Yeah, I know. Jeannie Yankee fan just made 5 more people on Twitch subscribers to Quite Frankly. Listen, if you have become a beneficiary of any of the wonderful people in this audience who have gifted subscriptions on either Pilled or on Twitch or on YouTube, then please check the members section, the members only section, and just catch up on all the stuff you haven't seen before. And on Twitch, the way that you catch up on members only is when you become a subscriber, you are automatically given access to the private chat inside of our Discord. That's the Brandies and the Cigars and Brandy chat room. And in there, pinned to the top, is the current password of the members only section on quitefrankly.tv. That's how you can take part in all the universal perks of membership. I had to find a crafty way of bringing Twitch audience in. That's how you can do it. And of course, that password changes in March. So you still have go ahead and check it out. Enjoy. And thank Jeannie Yankee fan for making you a sub. Eli P says, I can't say thank you enough, Frank. Greatest show. See, when they say things like that, Anthony, then I start wondering, what do they mean, greatest show?
Oh.
What do they mean when they say I love the show? When I hate the show has become a term of endearment.
Oh, so now we're dealing with some opposite.
The inverse. I get confused.
I know.
Tefro says, I love this show. See, what the fuck does that mean?
Oh gosh.
Okay, Joe Martinez, thank you. And it's good to see. We have a couple of subscribers.
It's a mind game.
It is a mind game, but as long as it keeps showing up, I'll take it.
All right.
Over on Rumble, The Right Stuff says Omar needs to be rolled up like the booger she is and flicked out of the country.
That's so terrible.
I know. Awaken Boomer says, hi, Frank and Anthony. Great guest.
Oh, thank you.
Yes. Jay Semo says, great guest, great discussion, great show. Put me in the raffle, please. Oh, you are in. Agora Greg says, terrific conversation. Love all of the Franklies. And Valsky says, put me in that raffle, Keto Brainz. Thanks, Frank. Oh, yeah, I'm giving away a golden ticket. And tomorrow I'm giving away silver. So, Swickly, thank you. Tommy Jekyll says chasing corruption in Minnesota is as full-throated as Pam Blondie still being Attorney General. It's the Sentinel, thank you. Super D.
Pam Blondie.
Pam Blondie. And Vesper says, great show again, Frank. Well, I appreciate it. It's going to be a good time for the rest of the way because now I have a couple of things just to throw out there. First of all, did you see that there in Omaha, Nebraska, a sinkhole opened up?
Oh, I saw that.
Dude,
2 cars?
Dude, look at the cars down here, everybody.
So frightening.
Sinkholes are the weirdest. Look that.
And then
hold on.
Right.
Here it happens right here. Right here. Boom.
Oh my gosh.
Sinkholes are the weirdest thing, man.
That's very scary.
They are the strangest thing.
And they got out, I think, yeah.
Yeah, here's a closer. Boom. Everybody got out. They were all right. But I'll tell you something. That makes me feel weird. Like all of a sudden a chasm in the earth just popped open. What happened? I actually saw one idiot in the chat room say, well, you know, Omaha doesn't like taxes. So I was like, wait a second. The earth literally just opened up and swallowed a car. And you think that taxes could have stopped that? I'm telling you, man.
Oh, gosh.
I'm telling you. People
That's
just.
False causal think. I mean, it's just.
Dude.
That's how you get conspiracy theorists.
Conspiracy theorists, but it's also just people are ruthless. Like I remember I was sitting next to Lauren, it was me, Lauren, and Aurora. We might have been out for a Valentine's Day dinner last year. So last February, I took them out, and I remember we were sitting there next to these old crusty local Westchester, New York curmudgeons in Rye.
Yeah.
And right around the time, I think, because RFK, it looked like, RFK at HHS, and it was going to be measles, mumps, and rubella, and a whole bunch of vaccine talk was happening at the time. And it was down there in Minnesota. No, not Minnesota. I'm sorry, Mississippi. And they were saying something about Mississippi and vaccine schedules and the CDC and all that stuff. And I actually heard one of these old crusty bastards saying, well, it's all right. It's Minnesota. I can't think of anybody I'd save down there. And Lauren looked at me like, Frank, just concentrate on, because she heard it too. And I'm like, do these people understand that they just casually condoned, like, I don't know, a form of murder? And then of course, if you're able to like get through to them, say, hey, listen, I'm sure you guys are, by the way that you're talking so viciously, I'm sure you're liberals, but do you know that is the densest black population?
Yeah.
For one in the United States. Anything else? Like how many people did you want to kill just because it's technically a red state, therefore what?
Well, there was research that was released by a social psychology lab from Rutgers about a year ago that I really have no right referencing it without the true numbers, but the gist is that liberal identifying voters expressed more desire for Elon Musk, Donald Trump, for their death or for them to be harmed. And people who agreed with like destroying Teslas agreed with that sentiment as well. And this, listeners can look it up if you just Google Rutgers University, political violence, the left, Lee, L-E-E, Jussim, J-U-S-I-M. You'll find the research there, and it shows that very concerning. The opposite was not true. The other inverse was not true in terms of, Republicans, conservatives wishing death upon people.
Well, I'll give you this then. I always keep things like this handy.
Okay.
Democrats in January 2022, this is Rasmussen. This was their willingness to put you in camps by January 2022. Finding the unvaccinated, Democrats, boom, yes. Lock unvaccinated at home. Democrats wanted to forcibly lock you inside your home. Send them to quarantine camps. They were all for that as well. Take children from unvaccinated parents, a little less, but compared to Republican respondees, they were far more willing to rip children away from unvaccinated parents. And then fine and imprison critics of the vaccine. I mean, there has been such unforgettable revelation over the last few years. Things that perhaps there can be some reconnections made, but I can never trust people again. Because when the pressure was applied, they lost all sense of humanity.
I completely agree with you. That's why I fled. Your list, maybe last show I mentioned it, but I was very much so on the far left. But it was kind of a surface level thing for me. I think I just adopted it. That was throughout all my 20s. And then exactly that graph that you showed just now, that was what broke it for me. I couldn't deal with it. It was literally out of the Lenin, Stalin playbook, Maoist playbook. I mean, no, it's, and I was amused to hear someone today at the campus talk about authoritarianism, Trump being a totalitarian, authoritarian, a fascist, all this stuff. And I'm like, okay, let's just say that what you're saying is true. And this is not a whataboutism. Do you not see do you not understand the dissonance here right now that pretty much everything you showed in that graph, we talked about like little bits of that, like how that was just as totalitarian, that was just as authoritarian. It's punitive, it's abrasive, it's illiberal. So how did we forget, or not only that, how are they not reconciling with, how are they not still understanding that they did this stuff and owning it?
Yeah.
That's, that when Trump won again, people were baffled on the left, Democrats. I'm like, you guys have not had any introspection. If only you had introspection and said, okay, we get it. Or even thereafter had introspection and owned what that graph says, and many others show. Then I would lend an olive branch. But I just can't. I can't trust. I can't trust them.
Can't go there.
No,
I can't go there again. But at the same time, I also can't throw people completely away. I just have to. I just have to understand that when the chips are down, there are very few people I can go to for some honest and I don't know, some good assessment on things. And I just realized there was a breaking point there, and some people obviously will never come back from anything.
Yeah, and for me, it's the leadership most importantly. Like any everyday people that I know who are not in leadership, who just maybe believe some of these things. Like I have not had many problems with people in my close circle per se, and it's not about condensing or collapsing people to a caricature. It's really about the leadership direction and how leadership has not, stood in the center of these problems and said, hey, we made an error. We need to adjust. That's the part that drives me nuts.
Well, then we have to
segue. I know
we have less than a half hour. No, this is the segue. But the thing is that we have less than a half hour now to really stretch out with this next leg of it.
Okay,
and that is breaking generational cycles.
Yeah.
The way that this topic came up for me was with a parenting video, a reel that I had seen on Instagram, but it really applies to everything else we're talking about here, because we've got cycles to break.
Yeah.
We've got so many cycles to break here that go beyond parenting. But what is more essential again than rearing a child and preparing them to become a functional, independent part of what you hope is a free society at that point.
Yeah.
And the reel is this one. It was a guy that is pushing his son on the swings, having fun with him, and the caption on the screen is, "Being a parent makes me understand my parents a lot less." Some people say, I didn't really understand my parents. I didn't understand my mom or my dad until I became a father or a mother myself. But this was specifically with people who were saying, you know, I realize, and I don't know where they're coming from, because this is where again there is dissonance and there is just discord on everything. That a lot of people feel that something is terribly wrong right now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But we have a very hard time diagnosing the problem from a unified perspective of, you know, a unified perspective, I should just say. You know, everybody feels like there's a lot more people out there that feel like they're less successful the more effort they put into something.
Yeah, that's true.
Every time that the ground feels stable, the rug gets pulled out from under them.
Yeah.
That they're losing because of how we opened up the show tonight with the combination of you know, how antisocial social media is, and how that really has put our everyday relationships into a different category that is not as pure as it used to be 20, 25 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know, man. We have a lot to pick back here. And when I was thinking about this, again, I don't want this to be, I'm not throwing anybody under the bus at home. I'm not questioning the love parents genuinely feel for their children. I'm not a perfect parent, nor am I a perfect son. But, you know, I started thinking about the generations, because in these comment sections, a lot of people are talking about how I don't think my parents or their parents just ever questioned why we do things. We just passed it down. I want to listen to some things that people had said. Here, let's see. Where they here? I had to go to therapy after having kids because I couldn't understand how my parents did such a bad job with me and my siblings. Now, these are anecdotes. I don't know. There's a lot of people that got attracted to this comment section that had horrible, I guess, just a rough childhood. Here's another one. The difference is that a lot of older generations have this mentality of, quote, well, I went through it, so I'm going to put my kid through it. And younger generations are saying the opposite, finally. I don't know how much that is, but I don't know. A lot of my friends, they're looking at, you know, how the older generations did it. They grew up on TV. You can trust people on TV. We don't trust people on TV anymore. We don't trust the people who are making movies anymore. We'll go and watch a movie, but we're guarded for all types of subliminal messaging and all types of political tropes and all that other shit. We're guarding our spirit against stuff that we know that they're throwing at us. Our parents and our grandparents trusted their doctors with their lives and all of their prescriptions. We no longer trust that easily anymore. Right. I mean, we are, and the hardest thing of trying to break these cycles is actually contending with older generations who have only ever did something one way and can't imagine a world outside of that.
Right.
I think this comes down with politics in a great way too. It could be baffling to people if you look at things beyond surface level Republican, Democrat, tyranny, oppressor, victim, oppressor, bullshit. Right. If you go any deeper than that, their eyes go crossed. So what do you think about this whole breaking cycles?
Well, actually, there's an interesting sort of, how do I position this? There's an interesting paradigm shift in psychology, in clinical psychology, I would say. I don't think it's explicit, but there are a lot of therapists that I'm friends with and psychologists that I know who are trying to, and I promise this gets to the point actually. We're trying to switch the professional narrative that's been prevailing, that's been sort of the pervading narrative that a traumatic event or a difficult childhood or, you know, experiencing adversity sort of necessarily leads to having a bad adulthood, having bad fortune later in life. It's sort of, they've created this one-to-one framework through affirmative therapy, through trauma therapy. Now, any infraction is really considered a trauma. It's instead of a trauma response being an autonomic response that's disproportionate to what you would normally experience, signaling something more threatening, but then very quickly, relatively speaking, attenuating or coming down, it being an elastic, normal response. The world of psychology and therapy, the clinical world, has taken that and has commodified it. And people identify with this sort of, like kind of you're saying, this victim mindset where how do you make sense of your victimhood? How do you make sense of all the woes and trials and all the self-doubt? Where can it come from? Oh, it comes from my childhood. And this is not actually, let's just parse this out. You made a good point sort of about selection bias, where social media attracts a certain kind of person to begin with, So you're going there and you're finding a meme like this, and it falls into your algorithm. Maybe you're saying things to your phone or you're searching things, and maybe it brings you there. And it could be the case that your algorithm is biased toward you, person who laments about your childhood. And so there's that one variable that we have to consider. And to that end, it could be the case that people like that in the comment section did have really horrible childhoods. But on a broader scale, this is not wholesale. This is not the norm. I mean, people want to attribute their lamentations and the problems they're experiencing now to the past. And again, the therapeutic world is selling it as a psychodynamic, like prepackaged idea that it's your family, it's your parents, they screwed you up. And the problem with that is that our memories don't work as well as we think. Every time you bring back a memory, you remember something, it's changing. So if you have an enterprise that's focused on the victim-bound train and always telling you that you're right, and always telling you that you have to create safe environments for yourself and put boundaries up and all these different mechanisms that are given to you to help yourself or self-growth, then whenever you're asked in the therapy office to remember something, especially if you're in an emotionally charged state already, or you have higher negative emotional experience with higher negative emotional temperament, when you remember an event, it's going to, I've used the word many times in this episode, valence. It's going to negatively valence what you remember and literally modify the memory based on what you're experiencing in the moment. And so you can go from my dad hit me, spanked me when I was 5 to my dad is an abuser real quick in therapy. And there are people, and listeners can look into this, like there are people who are pushing against this particular trauma-informed narrative to a more resilience-based one. But our memories are not reliable, and we quickly change the past when we're in an especially emotionally volatile state. The brain is literally in a plastic state when you're emotionally charged, and you're giving suggestions, quite literally changing the past in your mind. So people will stand up and say, you're gaslighting. That's the go-to. People always love to say it. It's not gaslighting. It's a neurophysiological phenomenon. It's what happens. Now, how do you parse out that very real thing that happens to people who really are abused and who truly have had horrible luck in their childhoods and have a low threshold for threat sensitivity and all that stuff? How do you make room for people like that should be made room for? Well, that's a different conversation, and it's one we should have. But this idea that, I'm not going to be like my parents. Dude, you're doing okay. Looks like you're with your child right there, and you're present with the child. And most people who've had tough luck early in life actually rebound pretty quickly. There's quite a lot of empirical evidence for this. If anybody's interested, you can look up George Bonanno at Columbia University, who does this very work. People bounce back. So there's a whole generational mindset that there's this inevitable pipeline from adversity to trauma, and that it's caused by your family and your parents. And it's just not the full story. So it's like I said, been commodified. It's been sold as this story, as this framework. And it's one of the shifts that's happening right now in the clinical world. So,
you know,
I hope that made sense.
It does because I can totally see how going to a psychotherapist or something like that, and how quickly, you know, being spanked at 5 years old can be turned into I had an abusive father. Yeah. It dominated my childhood and all that other stuff.
And not only that, but because of that moment, you do these things that you are maladaptive. It's like everything goes back to that moment. And
it's also other things there too. And it might not even be like the bad, off-meaning things where people were trying to screw you up. But I monitor the way that I speak. I try to monitor the way that I react to things. I'm not a saint, but I think I've done pretty good in front of Aurora so far. But she picks things up, and of course, like, you know, for example, my parents, when my parents get together on a Sunday night, and we're all, it's me and my wife and my daughter and my brother and his girlfriend, and we have maybe some like extra people come over at that time. My mom, my dad's there. And everybody, I have to have contingency plans of things to put on television, or things to do with Aurora once everybody starts talking about fucking death. It's like it's just at one point or another. Yeah, it doesn't matter what we're watching. We could be sitting down watching an old, Ed Sullivan episode or something that's on television or something like that, and my father's just there Googling every last performer to see how they died and what's like this one killed themselves. Oh, don't they? This one hung. It's like everything is death and anxiety. And it's just and I'm pull. You know, I've had to voice. Let's change the topic. Let's watch something nice. Let's put on some fucking videos of people falling downstairs, icy stairs or something like that. fail videos or something, because I can't take it anymore. So I think about those types of things, and whereas you don't get, maybe somebody doesn't get spanked, but in a certain type of environment, like I think about Brave New World, like how all of the young children that were just made at the factory were being groomed into being absolutely afraid of flowers, or taking in negative stimuli that makes you want to reject books.
Creates a narrative.
Absolutely.
Yeah, absolutely.
I think that even if parents have become scapegoats, there are bad parents, no doubt. There are bad children. Some things just I don't know. They're inexplicable sometimes. Sure. But I think about where we are generationally as far as the society goes. Like, for example, I had this down here before. Like, for example, everybody's talking about the cycles that need to be broken. I was started wondering, well, when did those cycles need to start be broken? Like, if you were to get everybody together to figure out when we needed to preserve ourselves before we started going off the tracks, and then one generation just got progressively worse and worse. Like, and then I started thinking, was it us and the boomer generation? Was it the boomer generation and the greatest generation that gave, like, my grandparents to my parents, or was it even before that? Because I think about the greatest generation, they get venerated because they fought World War II. They were but they also got hoodwinked by FDR.
I was gonna bring FDR in. Yeah,
they got hoodwinked by FDR fucking 4 times, because the FDR the Depression, and then roped into another world war. But the social values were obviously they hadn't changed until the boomers.
Well, LBJ.
Yeah.
I think if you want to talk about what fucked things up, I think it was the Great Society project. I think it was LBJ.
That put a lance through the side of so many millions of American families.
Yeah.
It's especially destroyed whatever kind of momentum that Black Americans had coming out of the 19th century and away from Reconstruction. That drove a lance into the side of the cohesiveness of the family, and now it's everybody.
Yeah.
Black, white, brown. It doesn't matter.
Exactly right. Exactly right.
So because some people came out of the 19th century with like a little bit of a handicap, but now we're all getting taken down by it for sure. But I started thinking to myself, so you have like the lost generation. That's like our great grandparents, I would have to imagine. How old are you again?
36.
Okay.
Yeah. My grandmother, if she were alive, she'd be like 102.
102?
She would be if she were alive.
So your great grandparents, they were probably born in like the 19 teens.
Yeah, because my maternal grandmother was born in 1920. So
what about great grandmother?
Yeah, that's what. Yeah, so they would have been 19.
My great grandfather was born in 1900.
Yeah. I think my great grandmother was like 1900 also. 1890.
So 1883 to about 1900 or so is considered that lost generation.
Right.
And that Ernest Hemingway, F. Scott Fitzgerald generation. But they gave birth to the greatest. That was like the World War I. And then, of course, they gave birth to the greatest generation there, too.
Mm-hmm.
And I started thinking, like, is there something? Did the greatest generation look at their parents and certain societal norms and say, this is all wrong, it all has to change? I wonder where we know that in the 1960s and the 70s, we had those very insidious counterculture movements. We have a lot of intelligence agency involvement there. We have an unpopular war. We have MK Ultra. We have all these other things that are going on. The liberation theology is really coming to fruition. Divorce rates start going through the roof. We start really, the fruit of what we are starting. It's a really filthy kind of a birth that happened there that we're living through right now. I think that the bloom is completely off whatever flower came from that. But I just wonder, prior to that, like, what would be the year that if we were going to hit the reset button and go back to a time where, okay, now let's just hold our course here and not budge an inch. Where would that be? Like, I'm sure every generation disappointed the one before it in some way, but I mean, how bad could it have been? Like fashion changes? Like, what the hell happened between 1900 and 1920? I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, my reflex, to be honest with you, is like the 60s. Like, I mean, with like for me, LBJ. I mean, I feel like had he not done the things that he did, I mean, I think things would be different. That's just my simple, quick reflex. So much momentum with the critical theorists and Frankfurt School coming from Germany into academia, namely Berkeley and Columbia and all these other places. They had momentum with the students to Marxify them, essentially. But you also had, like you'd mentioned, black wealth, which was unfortunately and truly put to a stop by Jim Crow stuff and truly racism. But I feel like at least the ingredients were there for steadfastness and for like transcending that moment. Whereas you had LBJ come in and just like you said, I mean, put a lance. You said I don't know. I don't actually have an answer. I just think that's my reflex. That's my belief. And
you would probably be on point with a lot of people. I just put in the chat room right now. I said if we can get a redo, where would you start us off? Give me a year. And I'm not saying redo. We're talking genie in a bottle thing here, everybody. Let's not get into time travel laws. Let's not get into any kind of a paradoxical situation where, let's actually just say that we're not snapping our fingers and we're not having everybody here disappear because we're going back to 1886. Let's take the social conditions.
Yeah.
The social conditions and the way things were from a certain year and make it be so again. Okay, if we can make that present right now, what year would it be? The years are coming into the chat room right now, Anthony. Right off the bat, I had 1955 from Chicken Little. TL Spud says 1919. That's when my grandparents were born. Nikki says 1999. I told you. I said what? I
Before
said
9.
No doubt. No, I don't know anybody who's going to any date after September 11th, 2001. It has to be a pre 9/11 world, no doubt.
Yeah, I agree.
Because COVID was a slow motion 9/11 that I think has probably done even more damage.
Yeah.
Even more damage than what we thought was unthinkable with the carnage that happened even after those days with the wars and the children that were killed and the depleted uranium and everything else. So it'd have to be before 9/11. I don't think anybody would do sooner. Let's see, 1992 says Far Out Alien. Dill Brody, 1974. 1962 says Twee Girl. So, you know, you get to save Kennedy, perhaps. Ralph Lorino, 1776. Let's just bring it right back to the beginning, I guess. You know, I would actually go 1783, so we don't have to actually, unless you want to kill some redcoats with me, we can do that.
Right, exactly.
Can we bring some modern weapons? Just end the war a little bit.
I know,
quicker?
right? Make everything a little faster, right?
Real quick.
Have smartphones.
George Washington would have a lot more early success in New York if we can bring a couple of modern weapons back.
Hilarious.
Let's see here. 1945, says Bill Cooper. 1945 again, Joricho. That's from another chat room.
1945 would have been, I'm trying to think. Oh, okay. Well, duh. Yeah, we're now in
the end of the war.
End of the war. That's why I was like, what is that? Oh yeah, duh. The end of the war.
Well,
because all right, I could see.
You have to save General Patton's life.
Right.
See, no, you can't go 1945. Well, see, here's the thing. You're in a good position there. You're right by saying we're in a good position. We had already lost so many men, though. We had already lost. So now we're getting into, we're putting too much in there. We're talking about social conditions. Don't think about who you can save and what you can change. We're talking about social conditions. Social conditions,
which is why I think what I think still. Any other ones coming in? Or?
Oh, yeah. 1930. 1861. Let's see here. 1987. You were talking about 80s before we started the show.
Yeah.
You were talking about the 80s.
87, was that the end of Reagan? I think.
88 was Reagan's last year.
Okay.
It was the 88 election that gave us Bush 1.
Right.
So yeah, that's the last of that. Let's see here. Before 2020, says Jeannie Yankee fan. Yeah, that's no doubt. But I think
9/11 was.
Oh yeah, we were already in bad shape. Socially by 2019, things were going well. We thought we were on the upside, but we were still dealing with a lot of shit. Like, you know what I was thinking about before?
That's true.
You know what I was thinking about before? It's crazy when you talk about your time in Colombia, and all of the discussions about woke and all that. I remember. I'm old enough to remember when woke wasn't an ironic term. Yeah. I mean, it's used as an ironic inversion, a label that you give somebody who thinks that they're on the cutting edge of a new social revolution or something like that. Right. But they are just so on the outside of it, and it's the exact opposite. But I remember it was probably sometime around, I don't know, 2009. 10, something like that.
Yeah,
that it was like a Tumblr phrase, and it was more so about really just
awareness,
getting woke to something. Like it was used in like conspiracy theory circles,
right? And
it wasn't ironic. It was like a hip new slang,
right?
But it immediately, like within a couple of years, it became an ironic jab at somebody,
right?
You know,
right?
But so there's that. Let's see here. See, I know where people are going. It has to be before Jekyll Island. They said no. There's always a reason why we can avoid the Civil War and go to 1860. well, we can avoid the War of 1812. We can avoid all this. You'll go further and further back until it's Adam and Eve. I'm not. let's not talk about that. I'm talking about the social makeup here. That was the whole thing, and I really like what people are putting out there. 1941. I think that the sweet spot might be in there somewhere. Well, you're talking about the 60s to the 80s.
There were just so many social policies in the 60s and so much academic work to essentially codify them into our laws.
Yeah.
And I don't see how, you can trace the data. You can trace it from that point to now, how those economic policies had such deleterious effects on our social fabric.
Yeah.
And just the general growth, the trend is not there is not a growing trend thereafter for people that it was supposed to help.
It's true. And I'm really liking this.
And then also one quick thing, think about Vatican II.
Yeah.
In the 60s, where the altar became, more of an egocentric sphere, like the priest faces the congregation, and the priest now becomes sort of like the centerpiece, whereas in the old tradition, the priest is faced away and everything is looking up to the true north, sacrifice is being offered to God, whereas Vatican II is more of this egocentric, we're here at agape, which is fine, but it's like that was in tandem with the social script of the time.
I know, and yeah. We've done a lot into Vatican II, and I don't know how much. I'm definitely more on the side of the traditionalists on this, and there's more I want to get into that as well. It's a great thing because you're talking about a mirror to a changing culture and where to go. That's why I actually think that I would go prior to 1960.
Okay.
Because you could say so many things that the farther you go back, you can talk about, okay, well, but race relations weren't really good back then or anything else like that. It's like, what you would really have to do is go even further back before the Civil War, because, you can say that Reconstruction really set back race relations and forced integration really set back all these things. You think about what has been done in the name of making the world better by forced centralized government prescription,
right,
that it may have set us back in a great way. But what I'm saying here is that, and I think people in the chat room are starting to get it too, as what we're talking about here, is where were people's hearts and minds that even if the world it is unrecognizable as we know it today, where we can go out and the whole, there isn't blacks only and whites only places and stuff like that. How were relations at home? How well put together was the most basic unit of society, which was the family? Where were their faiths? Where were the opportunities to go out and that's just really it. Where how much impetus was put onto the individual to go out there and hustle versus the individual's need to go out and cast a vote in hopes that somebody would take care of them. And then from there, that's where we go. And that's I guess a little bit of debate some other time. But Anthony, it's 9:00. We ripped right through it.
Yeah, this was great. Great.
Please, I got you up over here. There he is on Instagram, Anthony Rispo. You're about to break 100,000 subscribers. You've got just wonderful commentary up there. A lot of people watching you. You have tremendous growth.
Thank you.
How is your podcast, The Discourse Lab, going?
Oh, it's going really great, actually. It's slow but moving upward, and we just released an episode. I encourage everyone to listen. A social psychologist by the name of Luke Conway. He's at Grove City College in Pennsylvania. He's one of the very few Christian conservative social psychologists. Well, that's not his title, Christian conservative social psychologist, but he is a Christian conservative, and he was one of the first psychologists of his domain of psychology to test and explore and test the reality of a left-wing authoritarianism, because for so long we've been told it's just a right-wing phenomenon. He dug in 2016, published the paper, and it's astounding stuff. And thereafter, several others have jumped in and come up with their own questions and research findings. And so he has a book called Liberal Bullies. I mean, and he's such a nice guy, and he's loved and respected in the social psychology sphere. So he's like not some kind of curmudgeon who's trying to just like be antagonistic and all that kind of stuff. But we discussed on this episode of Discourse Lab, the last episode, a project that he worked on, a paper that was just published, where he and a group of other scientists, well, there were a group of scientists that had two hypotheses, and they sort of tested them to see what's the most, the closest thing we can come to the truth. And that hypothesis was about, rigidity, political rigidity. Is the right more rigid, or is it just a mechanism of, being extreme? And they found that it really didn't matter if you were left or right. Rigidity is not, is not a right-wing thing. Anyway, I'm going on about it, but I'm excited about it, and I encourage everyone to listen to that last episode on Discourse Lab. So
I'm glad. I'm glad that's going well, because these are the conversations more people are seeking out, and it's casting a lot more clarifying light on things. And I appreciate you being here.
Thank you for having me.
I hope we can hang out. We've hung out twice now. They've been on pretty chilly nights. Maybe sometime in the spring we'll hang out again.
I would love that.
I would love for you to come in here on a night where I have another guest or two that's in, so we can form some kind of a panel. And
would love that. Yeah.
That would be awesome. If you ever have any really awesome friends and personalities that you thought would be great, that are in stone's throw of the studio, you let me know.
That would be great. Yep.
All right. So Anthony, is that the only place that you like to plug, to find you on Instagram?
Yeah, Instagram for now, and you can find, I have a link tree up there, and there, Discourse Lab. Eventually YouTube, I'll be doing more on YouTube, but that's good for now. You could find everything there on Instagram.
Great. Well, I put it up on screen. I also have the URL in the description of the episode, so you can click through there. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much. Here's what's going to happen. I'm going to show Anthony out, and then I am going to jump into the flip side. I will leave the stream on in the flip side with some music playing. Just give me a couple minutes. I'll be back. I don't want to take up too much more time of Anthony's. He has a drive. But real quick, we have 2 Yard Ape. Just said another show with stimulating content. Thank you. More air con cash. Yeah. Well, thank you so much. Air conditioner cash. That's what he meant. I made a comment about how I have to replace this 10-year-old air conditioner. I would like to this spring, but anyway, Susan says, I'll need Jane's book to add to my newly forming apothecary, Frank. Yes, well, this is going to be really good stuff. And thank you guys and gals for the super chats. The show needs your help, no doubt about it. And become a sponsor, because I'm going to be giving you a wonderful gift if you become a sponsor of $10 or more for the show every month. From this month forward, I want to give away this t-shirt, 20 years on air.
Oh, that's great.
Quite frankly, I hate this show. It is very, very comfy shirt. I got one for myself. I don't wear anything usually, but this one I got. So just remember that. Let me see anybody else so I can. Let's see. Gribble Sillin says, I was 20 feet away from a sinkhole in Milwaukee, swallowed an Escalade. I was in a far heavier excursion and got away before it got bigger. Damn. That's crazy. Oh. I hate sinkholes. They look weird. Dragon Sage says, for all the lurkers. Thank you, Dragon. Thank you for encouraging everybody. Frank, this is from 2 Dogs. If it's a sinkhole in Omaha, I guarantee you it's the tunnels caving in. I've been in parts of them. They exist. Mike, what are you doing? You got to get on the show, call in, and talk to people. I'm going to open up the inside information hotline sometime soon, and I need that called in. Let's see here. Jorico says, Frank, considering the changes pending for Discord verification, would you consider making locals, or do you have one? Give privacy-minded Frankly's options. I do have a locals, but I just forward them over to the members only section on quitefrankly.tv. You don't have to be in Discord if you don't want. Pilled has most of the things that you need to substitute Discord. I heard that the Discord verification stuff is only for communities that are public and not private chats like ours. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe there's more to this. But listen, if people just stop chatting in Discord because of this, then that's the end. I'm not doing it again. We had a Discord. Then we had a Gilded because Discord got nuked. Now Gilded, most people stopped going on Gilded because Gilded started merging more with Roblox, and Roblox is full of pedophiles. And then Gilded just went away. It closed down forever in December altogether. Now we're on Discord again. Listen, make the choices you gotta. I'll let you know. Maybe we can do something that is comparable on Pilled for an off-air, off-peak chat room that we know will never get shut down and will never censor us. Maybe we can do something like that, but I'm not going to keep migrating this thing. It's awesome when Franklies get together on the internet, and we make for a really fun chat room. I'll tell you that much, but I'll keep you up to date. I still don't know too much about it. Let me see. That's all I have for you. Thank you so much. And over on Rumble, is that it? I think I did everything. Oh, wait, hold on. There's son of a bitch. Anthony, I'm sorry. I'm trying to get you out of here, man.
No, you're fine.
Miss Maniac says, Frank, you have a few new subscribers on Rumble. Congrats on 20 years. And please enter me for your contest. Love, hugs, and persevere always. Kelly, you are always included, of course, because you're always giving so generously. And thank you so much. Haywood says, that guy, Austin Tucker Martin ATM, made everything make sense to me. The Democrats all went nuts after going ass to mouth. You're right. I guess that's the whole thing there. All right, and with Pilled, I'll read all the Pilled chats on the other side of the end credits. So thank you so much. Tomorrow is Thursday. We're going to have Lindsay Sharman with me in the up front. In the second half, I'm hoping I can get Matt in here. Maybe an appearance from Mike Baldwin or something, and do something fun or something like that. I think Chrissy Mayer is coming back on Monday. We'll see what's going to happen. But fun things coming your way. So I'll catch you on the flip side. I'm dropping the link in the chat room. So the night does not have to end if you don't want it. Have a good one.
I'll catch you on the flip side.
Yes, Quite Frankly is filmed before a live studio audience. And now, our super chatters, thank you to all of you. I have to run outside, so I can't go read all the names right now, but come to the flip side. It is getting hotter and hotter in the flip side. You have no clue what you're missing. When the lights go out, we're still pumping. All right, everybody. Talk to you in a bit. All right, that's it. Thanks, everybody.